When you hear the name Samson, you probably think of one thing: superhuman strength. But his story? Wow, it's so much more than that. It's a complex, gripping tale of divine power, all too human weakness, and ultimately a really profound tragedy. And this gets to the heart of the whole story, right? How does someone who can literally tear a lion apart with his bare hands become so incredibly vulnerable? As we're about to see, it all comes down to a single, critical secret he was sworn to protect. So, to really get a handle on Samson, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning, before he was even born. His story kicks off in a pretty dark and desperate time for his people, when a promise straight from heaven offered the first real glimmer of hope. Okay, so picture this. For 40 long years, the Israelites have been under the thumb of the Philistines. The situation seems totally hopeless. Then, an angel appears to a woman who couldn't have children and gives her this incredible message: you are going to have a son, and he is going to be the one to start freeing Israel. So right from the get-go, his entire life has this divine mission stamped on it. Now, this wasn't just going to be any kid. The angel declared he would be a Nazarite, which is a really crucial term to understand here. It means he was set apart, consecrated to God for a very specific purpose, and his whole life was governed by a sacred vow. So, what did this vow actually involve? Well, three key rules: no wine or any other fermented drinks, don't eat any unclean food, and the most famous rule of all: a razor was never, ever supposed to touch his head. His long hair wasn't the source of his power, not exactly. Think of it more as the powerful physical sign of his vow and his connection to God's strength. Okay, so as Samson grows up, this divine power starts to emerge in some pretty incredible ways. But right alongside that strength, we also start to see his very human, and let's be honest, very dangerous flaws: his impulsiveness, his explosive anger, and his pride. So he's on his way to meet the Philistine woman he wants to marry when a young lion attacks him. And this is the first time we see his power in action. The text says, "The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him," and boom, he just rips the lion apart with his bare hands. This phrase is almost like his divine power-up. It signals something absolutely incredible is about to happen. And here we see just how fast his life could spiral completely out of control. It all starts with a prideful riddle he tells at his own wedding. When the Philistines can't solve it, they threaten his new wife, who then coaxes the answer out of him. Samson's response to this betrayal isn't just a little bit of anger, it's explosive vengeance. He kills 30 men, which then leads to his wife being given away, which in turn leads him to burn down all their fields. One small act of pride just sets off this devastating chain reaction. I mean, the sheer scale of his power was just staggering. After being betrayed by his own people and handed over to the Philistines, the Spirit of the Lord comes on him again. He snaps his bonds, grabs the first thing he can find, the jawbone of a donkey, and defeats 1,000 enemy soldiers. He was a truly unstoppable one-man army. But for all his physical strength, Samson had this profound weakness for women who would, time and again, ultimately betray him. And this leads us to the most famous part of his story and his fatal relationship with a woman named Delilah. The Philistine rulers were absolutely desperate, so they approached Delilah with an astronomical bribe. Now, this wasn't 1,100 silver shekels total. It was 1,100 from each of them. This just goes to show you how much they feared Samson and just how high the stakes were for Delilah's betrayal. Delilah gets to work immediately, but Samson doesn't give up his secret easily. She uses this classic emotional manipulation, nagging him day after day with words just like this. She questions his love and preys on his affections, constantly wearing down his resistance. He actually lies to her multiple times. First, he says fresh bowstrings can hold him. They can't. Then he makes up a story about weaving his hair into a loom. That doesn't work either. But finally, sick to death of her nagging, he just gives in. He tells her the whole truth. "I am a Nazarite. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me." He reveals the symbol of his sacred vow. And that's exactly what happens. As he sleeps on her lap, a man comes in and shaves off the 7 braids of his hair. The physical link to his Nazarite vow is severed, and with it, his divine strength is just gone. And this leads to a truly chilling line in the story. When Delilah shouts, "The Philistines are upon you," Samson wakes up thinking he can just shake them off like all the other times. But he was wrong. The loss wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. The Lord had left him, and in that first moment of confusion, he didn't even realize it. This brings Samson to his darkest hour: capture, blindness, and humiliation. But it also sets the stage for his final, devastating act, a moment of vengeance that serves as a tragic kind of redemption. The Philistines capture him, gouge out his eyes, and force him into slave labor. Later, during a massive festival for their god Dagon, they bring him out to be mocked by thousands of people. In this moment of total defeat, Samson utters a final prayer, asking God for strength just one more time. He places his hands on the two central pillars of the temple, and he pushes. The result is catastrophic. The entire temple collapses, killing all the Philistine rulers and thousands of others inside. In this single act of self-destruction, Samson kills more of his enemies than he had in his entire chaotic life. He finally fulfills his divine mission, but only in death. So, what do we make of this incredibly flawed hero? His life is this powerful cautionary tale with lessons that still resonate today, for sure. His life offers a few really powerful takeaways. We see that a divine purpose can be fulfilled even through deeply imperfect people. And maybe most importantly, that immense external strength means nothing if it isn't matched by inner discipline. Ultimately, Samson's own weaknesses, his pride, his anger, his lust, were his real downfall. It's a stark warning about vengeance, temptation, and the consequences of breaking faith. And that leaves us with a final, thought-provoking question. Samson lived a life of reckless passion and personal failure, yet in his final moments, he fulfilled his purpose in the most dramatic way imaginable. So can a single monumental act of redemption really redefine an entire legacy? It's something to think about.